During my research, I found that a lot of people, when they listen to your music, they think of the 90s. And I was wondering if you could describe to me the feeling of the 90s to someone who wasn't there.
Well, quickly, I'd love to say that I'm not, the front rows of the shows are very young, which
Mm,
is one of the greatest, I think, compliments is when a band has a multi-generational audience,
mm,
and it's definitely not like empty of young people. And what I like about that is them knowing new songs. For me, as a writer,
mm,
of course I appreciate the 90s, but it's like it's 2025. I can't I don't want to be a sort of in a beefeater outfit, standing outside
mm,
of a 90s tradition, like put on my plaid or something. So it's weird because it's like I like celebrating it, but it's not my focus because that would be weird. If
mm.
I'd be in a
Yeah.
time warp. I'm not in a time warp. But in terms of if I could describe it, what it like with the 90s, all I would say was that that was a time when music, and specifically rock music, was much more of the mainstream, and there were less algorithms in the world, so people were more connected. Even if you didn't want to be connected, if you didn't want to hear the new single by Maroon 5, you probably would. Or if you didn't want to, or you did want to hear something about Sonic Youth new record, everyone would be talking about it. So things
Mm,
weren't in isolation. Now you can be like, oh my God, so and so's got a new record. No, it's so hard for anyone to break out of their own single algorithms and to reach people is, I find, really challenging now. And that's the thing that's probably makes me the most proud is the cars at our shows, and all these different lives and all these different people who are disconnected by so many things, but yet on the night that we come to town, that is what they want to come and do, and that's the power of music, and I never lose sight of that. So that's why I think the record's really vital and powerful, because when it's done right, music is so uplifting. It changes people's lives. It really does.
mm.
I believe.
I agree. I don't want you to think that I was calling you old or anything there. I
No,
just
no,
meant,
it's all good. I get it. I get it. And it's like, it's weird because it's like, I totally get the excitement about the 90s. It's obviously being 2025. I don't want to be sort of in
mm,
90s costume or something like that.
mm,
Like
how fashion has changed.
There's punks in Piccadilly Circus, Italian punks going, he's not dead, with the mohawks going, let it go, he's
Yeah.
fucking dead.
How does it feel to still be touring as a band, all these years later? Like, do you still get the same rush of it? Do you still love music as much as you did when you started?
I think I have to, like, what an idiot I would be if I loved it less or wanted to be there any less, because
Mm,
it's an intense sacrifice to be doing it, for
yeah.
anyone in a band. It really is. And I think of anyone who goes away grinding, and actually even harder for the middle and lower. When you're grinding, sort of going around the world playing stadiums, it's a grind and a jet and a gorgeous suite at the Four Seasons. So I'm not sure that's so much of a grind compared to just most bands and vans and touring and grinding and five, six shows in a row and all those sort of things. It's just, it takes a lot of, you got to really want it. Like my kids want to do this, and I hope that they have this desire, can see it through, because it's a lot.
What advice would you give with how to, because you mentioned like it's really grinding, right? So what advice would you give on how to cope with that, that very busy and hectic lifestyle?
For me, the way that I do it is really simple. I keep my eye on the prize, of that is that each show is something really special. It doesn't matter whether I'm playing in Brunswick, Boston, or London, or New Brunswick, or Boston, or London. It has to be the same. Whatever I have, it has to be on full. That's just the contract that I undertook with myself, right? Committing to doing this. And so it allows me to be really so my time is spent to be really cautious, really focused for the shows, and it ruins everything. Like I sing at the meet and greet in the day. I don't really, I can't really talk much when I'm on tour. I have to just minimize my voice use, just save it for the shows. Got to warm up in the day, warm up for the show, first show, warm up for the second show, and then not stay up all night because then you go. So the way that I get through it is by sort of treating it like an athlete, like I got to win every show, you know. And if I'm winning, it's because I'm doing all the right things and I'm focused on the prize. And if I'm lose sight of that quality, which I don't lose sight of, that's where I would maybe, if you stay up too late, you're chatting all night, voice sounds like shit, then you go to play, it doesn't matter, it's only Cleveland or something. It's just, it's just no good because people from Cleveland don't give a fuck what you did the night before or the next night. They, let's do it. Let's have some fun. So it's weird. By being diligent is the way that it's the way that I get through it. Because if I'm sort of lost and I'm just not focused on that, I find it really hard. The days are so long sometimes. Days are so long. You arrive at a venue at 9 in the morning and you're just like, okay, hang out, do your
Yeah,
thing.
here for 14 hours.
Yeah, and then go play. But it's also incredible. My the overview that I have over everything is that life is incredibly challenging and really hard, and I like to write about that. But it's full of fun and joy and like great things and great connections and great loves, and it's just worth fighting for the whole time. And the battle is internal. It's worth it to be a better person. It's worth it all the time to work on yourself. I read a great thing the other day, Alain de Botton saying, anyone who isn't completely embarrassed by themselves a year ago is not working on themselves. And I love
Yeah,
that idea,
that's a
because
good
it's really,
quote. Yeah.
yeah, because it really is about incremental ways to cope for all of us.
Yeah.
You know, to be a better at what we do, enjoy what we do more, feel what we do more, be more open. All these things that the natural instinct is often goes against what is helpful.
Yeah. And so you would say that that's important to you, the ability to grow and change over the years and stuff.
Well, yeah, because otherwise, if you don't adapt and survive, I mean, Darwin is the survival of the fittest, survival of the sort of the least. If you clasp on like a sort of a hold on the mountain, please don't change, all that. It doesn't work. You just sort of end up you can't beat biology.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. I do really love that quote that you said about like if you're not embarrassed of yourself from a year ago. And that kind of leads me into some questions that I do want to ask you, like your creative process, for example, you do songwriting, stuff like that. So how has that process changed from you from the past few decades that you've been doing this? And what mistakes have you learned? And what changes have you made to your process?
Well, I right at the beginning, I found it much easier to use a drum machine to play with so that I could make riffs against it. And there's a sort of an anchor there. And that then progressed to getting my own studio a few years later. Quite a few years, I just stayed on the drum machine and recorded like that. Then play it with the band and we'd rehearse it. We might change it, might not change it. And then you maybe demo it and then you go and make the record. So I went through the process, and now it's a different thing where I have a studio. I've figured enough to put songs together. I can record myself. I don't record the vocals because I like to map it all out, and then I've got an engineer who comes in and is a professional. And but The studio is a real excuse for me to be experimental and sit there and just try and think of ways to improve the silence.
Yeah. Would you say that the process then has is longer for you now, or was it shorter before?
It depends on which song, because I mean, some songs you may write, you may have a sort of a piece like Machine Head. We're talking the 90s.
Mm.
I had that riff. I had that riff for a couple of days, and I couldn't think of anything on it. And I walked around for 2 days. And I finally got something, and so it felt like I cracked the code of what it was meant to be. And then Glycerine, I just started playing guitar and wrote that in one, like two goes. Sang and played. I wrote that down, recorded it, sang the whole thing, and then so I did two recordings of it. And so that was written in 5 minutes. So every song is different. Every song is different.
Yeah. Is there a specific place that you get that inspiration from, or does it just kind of like come to you at random?
I don't believe in inspiration in that sense of waiting for.
Mm.
I think, well, let me rephrase that. I love inspiration. I love being hit by a great idea. 3 in the morning, 2 in the morning. I love having an idea, which I write down as a really good idea to write down. But in terms of as a professional songwriter, nothing beats going to work on Monday morning, sitting in your studio, and not coming out till Friday night. And each day you go in and you
Mm.
do a job. It's like they say the hardest part of writing is, the chair. Putting yourself in the chair. You put yourself in the studio, and then you of course, you hope you get inspired in there, and all those lovely concepts of inspiration. And you know, I don't, you know, go for long walks or walk in nature or think about my kids. I think about my kids for quality control purposes. Like, I don't want to suck. I don't want their friends to hear my record and think I suck. Your dad sucks. He was so good in the 90s. What happened? He was so good in the 90s. I don't want that. So I'm trying.
Yeah.
The only criteria I think of my kids, especially my boys now, my daughter as well, older. I hope they like it. You want them to be proud of you.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's funny. I feel like a lot of people in different creative fields can relate to that too, about what you said about the room, right? For journalists and artists, I feel like it's always just like the blank page and just like having to get stuff down and stuff. You find that a lot in a lot of creative fields. So
Brutal.
there's no code. You can't crack the code on that one. It's just something we all struggle with.
Well, yeah, but it's a lot easier to fulfill it when you're in the room staring at that screen than
Yeah.
sitting in the pub going, oh, I just can't, I don't know what I'm doing. And worrying about it and sort of creating excuses. I think that it's really interesting about, you know, we're um, determined by our habits. It's not what we do, it's what is it that we're doing? What is that habit that we're doing? Like, we're talking to my son, he's like, it's just all these life lessons I'm trying to give my kids, you know, because now they go out into the world and I get to see if I was any good. Because it's not about having a sweet, I mean, I have a sweet 11-year-old, but it's not about having a sweet kid. It's like, I'm responsible for bringing this person into the world, and I want to make sure. Here's my gift to the world, everyone. This album and my kids.
That's
You
good.
know,
Yeah. Yeah. You want to raise them, right?
and not in that order. We just want us to be likable. That's all that matters. The only
Yeah.
advice, I don't give advice. People ask me anything about parenting and stuff. Not that I just have a particular way, which it wasn't even, which is just true to me. But I think that's just important if they're likable. You know what I mean? Like, you want a
Yeah.
kid people like. I say to them, if you be polite and funny, life is a lot easier.
Yeah. Do you find it harder being on the road and touring and stuff now that you have these, now that you have your kids, is it harder to leave home and stuff?
It's really hard to leave home, but it was a lot harder when they were younger. Then it
Mm.
was much harder. Now I feel terrible for my dog and my kids. Yeah, I don't like it. I've always felt bad when I go on tour. I feel terrible for my dog. It's horrible. I miss my dog so much. Oh, it's the worst
What breeds
part.
do you have?
I have a we have our dog, our house dog is he's a he's an Alaskan Husky mixed with a Belgian Malinois. So he's
That's cute.
basically Siberian Husky. She's a Siberian Husky and a
Yeah.
Belgian Malinois.
Yeah.
So he is like basically a fucking wolf. The
Yeah.
word I
Assume
have
he
is
sheds a ton.
oh yes, he's and I stand there. The thing goes on, no, and I can't get rid. Do
You
you have one
never
as well?
will.
What do you have?
Never going to get rid of that amount of hair. I can tell you from experience. They just keep
It's a,
going. I don't know where it
it's a
comes from.
husky.
Yeah.
It's wild. It's like Groundhog Day. And I'm like trying to look on the thing. But anyway, he's a sweet. He's only a year. He's so sweet. Sweet. He's one on Sunday. He's just great. Even when I didn't have a dog for a year, so now I'm back to being obsessed about my dog and not caring about much else, to be honest.
Yeah, it's always the dogs. They always take priority. And do you
No.
want to talk a little bit about your the album that's coming out now? I Beat Loneliness. It's such a striking phrase. Where did that come from?
It's funny where things come from. People have different ways of talking about the act of writing, and I mean, just you're a writer, just sat there and there's the empty phrase and split page and just. So I like it because I like a good paradox, and I think it's so full of hope, and it's so vulnerable because it's
Mm,
honestly someone who it's just no one who has a sense of loneliness will ever lose that sense of loneliness
yeah.
because this is the degree in there. But I think that the melancholy is a really necessary, essential part of life and the human experience. And to live a life that doesn't ebb and flow is to live a disconnected life. So for me, this whole present discussion around or illumination of mental health and all the struggles therein, I think is a beautiful and a long overdue conversation for people to have. Um, I think that the world is people get lonelier all the time as social media ramps up. It's diametrically opposed or diametrically connected to the people's lack of confidence. People, everybody. We all look at Instagram thinking, I wish I was there. And you can't help looking at it because people, their best life,
Mm,
their best moment. You're like, oh, yeah. So the whole thing is based on this structure of what you have isn't enough, and this will complete your life. And now, of course, with the kind of mad technology, you can just be thinking, maybe I should have a whole grain sandwich, and suddenly you'll have bakers from the whole world on your feed, and your algorithm is seeds and grains, and you know, it's just incredible. You just feel that the world is listening the whole time, and the world is so chaotic and fractured and full of struggle. It's great to do a record where it unites people. I mean, I do hope that the record is sort of I want it to be like a life raft for people, a vibe raft. I just made that up. You know what I mean? Where it's you listen to that record and you escape, you get lost, you get lifted up. If you don't feel alone, like I've never written. I don't. There's nothing depressing about the record because or any song I've ever written, because even the most depressing songs with the most depressing concepts within them always have an escape hatch, a way out, a door, a sort of a light, because I'm a positive person. I feel that I wish I felt a bit less, or wish I wasn't so sometimes affected by things around me. And you learn to not take things personally, or we hear now your reaction is what you control. And so you don't, you maintain a sort of a dispassionate view of something as best you can, but at the same time things fucking hurt, or people hurt, or people say things, and it's your ego, so you have to watch it. But at the same time, I just like that the experience of being human. I think I've always written about that, gave my life to it, and it may be in this sense that this record is me being at peace with that. Sometimes before, you get admonished for things, or when especially you bring records out, you get reviewed. Is either good, bad, indifferent? I don't know. Some people don't like you, some people like you, but this is like when I made this record and our survival, particularly by this record, it's just like, oh fuck, we're settled into our algorithm. We have the people that we have. The people that used to hate me are fucking dead anyway. They all died, and there's a whole new world. And you make the best step forward. You fucking do something interesting. Rock music is dead. Steve Albini was right. You can't even kill ska music. So rock music is not dead. Is it as big as Ed Sheeran? No. Ed Sheeran, Coldplay, they won. If you want to play stadiums, and I do. So they won. But ultimately, it's just up to everybody just create their own interesting life. Like, I think this is an interesting record, an interesting time in my life. My band, I feel, are really on fire. They play amazing. We have these incredible shows, and people dive and they love the older songs and the memories they have from those songs, and then they don't leave when we play the new songs. And then the kids in the front go, oh great, the songs we like, not my dad's song. So yeah, it's just a fertile, rich time, and why not enjoy life, because it's hard
Yeah.
enough.
Yeah. Oh, that's really beautiful. You talked about at the end there, you talked about like the stadiums and the selling and having the people there and the different fans and stuff. Would you feel like when you're on the stage and you're looking out at that, do you ever just get like an overwhelming feeling of just like, I did it? Like, and you just like, do you feel proud in those moments?
I mean, I do feel really proud because every night is a celebration of everything we've done. So it would be so disconnected and ungrateful to not be aware that every audience are the reason that we have this life. It's directly connected. I mean, like, without the people wanting to come and see you, I mean, there's no guarantee that anyone will come on any particular night. What? So yeah, the whole thing is what I find that makes me feel really good, to be honest, is when I sing the set, sometimes I don't know, can I play a new song or a survival song to play that one there? It's more fun to play those songs a little bit for me.
Mhm.
I like them. And I just know that even if people don't know a song that we play, they're not going to get lost and be like, it's not, I don't do a 7 minute atonal drone of something. It has reason to be there, even if you don't know it. And so what I like is I never do it for too long. I don't lose people. I don't do like oh, here's my 7 song medley of stuff you've never heard of. Everyone like runs to the bathroom and the bar and you get popcorn and beer. So I never want to lose people. So we just slide them in places. And what fills me with pride is knowing that we can play for an hour and a half. We never lose quality. You might not know a song, but there's 10
Mhm.
records. It's hard for you. I mean, of all my favorite bands, there's no way that I know all their songs over
Mhm.
10 records. There's,
Yeah.
I know what happened. There's like, what the fuck is that? Oh, and then you sort of like, oh, my so-called favorite band. I didn't know that song. My bad. Because everyone
Yeah.
gets a record, that they connect to most. I
Mhm.
did that growing up. Find a band, and then it's one album. The one album means the most. And then some people like them all. It's a weird combination. When you have enough people, it's a nice combo. Ed Sheeran must have a great life though. He seems a nice guy. Seems
Yeah.
very
You keep
nice.
mentioning him like you have like a vendetta against him.
Oh no, not at all. I think he's
Okay.
amazing. I just love that loop pedal and just the fact he just entertains stadiums with great songs.
Yeah.
As a
I like
songwriter, he's great.
Mhm. Yeah, you admire him on that level, yeah. I like what you said about the vibe raft, and I feel like having listened to your album too, and having listened to your older stuff, I think that like your music really does just bring that environment, and being able to play at the stadiums and just like having like that constant peak, I would like to experience it one day.
Thank you. I'd like that.
You'll see me in the pit just going, yeah.
You did it.
I know him.
World's best cup of coffee. Remember that in Elf? Remember that? You did
Yeah.
it. You did it.
Is there anything specific you want fans to take away from this album? You know, you've touched on how it talks about mental health and like the loneliness epidemic that people talk about now. What is there anything that you want your fans listening to this album to like really take home with them afterwards?
Yeah, I think that I'm always looking to fall in love with a record.
Mhm.
Always. If I when I and I love going to the new music sections of all the streamers, and see it's so much fun when people have new records because you
Mhm.
see, okay, what's your intention for us? What did you want? What's the first song? What's the third song? I just love it. I sit with the lyrics, and um, we as musicians we have this incredible opportunity to get people's affection one time, two times of listening. So for me, I'm just really proud because I do believe that people open themselves to the experience, they'll find stuff in it that's really magnetic. And there's no point in making records unless you really believe in them because there's too many records, but there's never enough great records. So I just want people to know that think this is really worth investigating as a record because it has rewards within it.
Mhm. Yeah, that's good. And what do you think is going to be up next for Bush? You know, I think you guys are on tour until what, December, you know, the rest of the year.
Well, yeah, but then we're going to go to Australia and Japan in
Mhm.
February, and
That's
so
cool.
then there'll be hopefully to pick up some festivals because of we do a lot of Europe, 2.5 months in Europe. So
Hmm.
there's a sort of a year written in stone, or to the end of the
Hmm.
year. There's even stuff in December that we're talking about, and then it goes on. So what's next for us is just being in the moment. Personally, it's really overwhelming, and I think it's too much, and I wish it wasn't so much booked.
Hmm.
And at times, I feel claustrophobic of my own time, because I don't have my own time. Because when I'm not doing what my schedule is, I'm doing something for my kids, and so I'm like, oh my god. But I also appreciate that another way of looking at it is that life is so rich right now. It's phenomenal. It's
Yeah.
literally phenomenal. I mean, like, I don't know how I got so lucky to have so many incredible things happening. I mean, I know that I work for things. I believe you make your own luck, but
Mhm.
I'm doing Bill Maher podcast this afternoon. I'm going to Bottle Rock tomorrow to do a cooking demonstration on stage, cooking crab linguine with Chef Andrew Zimmern, who I've loved on Bizarre Foods forever. And
Mhm.
so I'm like, that's just wild to me. It's pretty wild.
Yeah. I'd love to talk to you more about your show. If you could invite any three people, dead or alive, to dinner, who are you going to be picking and why?
Oh, that's really so open. Let's just go with people that have passed because it's better like that. So David Bowie would have
Mhm.
been an amazing guest. I
Mhm.
admired him, loved him. He was a great, great, great man. So he would be incredible.
Yeah.
I would have Bruce Lee,
Nice. Mhm.
Bob Marley, and who'd be the woman who's like, not my mom, that'd be nice, but she's not famous. I would.
Doesn't have to be a famous person.
Oh, that'd definitely be my mum. I don't my mum.
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought it was my show. Sorry.
Well, I mean, hey, you said Bob Marley, you said Bruce Lee, you said David Bowie. You can add your mom in there as an extra. That's
Okay,
okay.
okay. That's what I would do. And um, woman-wise, like Zaha Hadid, the architect.
Ooh, why her?
I love architecture. I think it's the most noble art form of large buildings. You shape cities, you shape, urban sort of design, which I never thought about before. But now you just see you create environments for people to live in, to thrive. So I think that buildings and great buildings are just incredible because they're there to inspire outwardly and inwardly, for people to do great things.
Hmm.
And so I love a good architect. So
Yeah. What would you talk with her about? What would you talk with her about if you had the chance to do this scenario?
I think inspirations and form and just sort of modes. I really am intrigued about people's process
Hmm.
because as a writer, I have this very specific process. And so it's always fun to hear about I like the mundane parts of people's um well, not mundane as such, but like in the sense of everyday normals to get them into that position of going to do great work. What is that? What does that involve? For me, I'm like a dog. I need to go do a lot of exercise, be worn out, eat something, feel sated, but then just flow into creativity. So I don't sort of start in the studio and go right in the studio and go, well, I want to get something to eat, or I want to make this cool. I want something cool. Like I get everything done I need to, so I just don't have to think. And the worst thing is if I have a deadline or an appointment or something I have to do. Like it's really important that I don't know. Like the worst question someone asking me of, I'm going to be in the studio, I'm writing. Oh, great. When will it be done? Like, whenever, if my girlfriend asks that, I don't mean to be rude, but I'm always like, doesn't really work like that. And if I think I have to finish at 6 to meet you at 6, it's a different process. I'm completely got
Yeah.
a different relationship to what I'm doing. What I need is nothingness. And that is why I'm going to find something interesting. So having deadlines or having other stuff to do, nightmare, nightmare. I like a clean slate.
Yeah. Good. Well, I won't take up too much more of your time. I just want to say really thank you. It's been absolutely great getting to talk to you today.
Thank you so much. Likewise, I enjoyed it.